Welcome back to another episode of Learn to Cook on a Budget. We are making maybe my most favorite side dish ever, sweet cornbread. We're gonna cook it in a cast iron skillet. I'm actually gonna teach you two ways to do this. I'm gonna make a sweet cornbread batter. Then I'm also gonna show you how to add corn kernels in your skillet, get those nice and toasted, then pour the sweet, or if you wanted to do a savory, I do have both recipes available below the video and over on the blog, so you can see the difference between the recipes and see how I'm gonna show you how to do the batter and then how to do the corn and batter in the cast iron skillet. And then we will bake that to cornbread perfection. The first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 375. We do not need to do anything to our cast iron. It is already nicely seasoned. If you're using another type of oven-safe skillet, that is a-okay. I just like the way that the cast iron conducts the heat and cooks that nice and evenly, giving it a little bit of a crust almost on the bottom. We are gonna go with eggs first. So we're gonna start with 2 eggs. We're gonna do wet ingredients first. I'm gonna whisk that until it's nice and smooth. And then we will add in all of the dry ingredients. I'm gonna use my Flisk, another one of my favorites. It's the whisk that you can spin into a sauce whisk or a flat whisk. Most of the time I use it as a balloon whisk, but it sure comes in handy. You just twist-a-roo. So I have 2 eggs, and then I'm gonna add in a stick of melted butter, so 8 tablespoons of melted butter. This isn't super hot, it's not gonna like cook the eggs or anything. It's cooled down a little, it gets a nice smooth base to this batter. Next, 1.5 cups of milk. I'm gonna just pour and whisk that right in. Keep it nice and smooth. The egg, the milk, and the melted butter, and we'll get those dry ingredients in there next. 1.5 cups of all-purpose white flour and 1.5 cups of yellow cornmeal, just all together. I'm gonna start to whisk that together with the wet ingredients. This is sweet cornbread, so we're gonna add sugar next, and then I'll add in the baking powder and salt. So again, sweet, 1 cup of sugar. Ooh, that's powdery. We're gonna mix that in. I might have to switch. I think I can still do. Sometimes I'll just twist this into the flat whisk and just it almost becomes like a spatula when you're working with a batter like this. And last but not least, 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. This is going to be a great amount for my cast iron skillet. It's going to be thick enough. If you're using a smaller cast iron skillet, you could certainly, not half this recipe, but 1/3 this recipe maybe would be the best choice. You know, the amount of batter is really going to depend on the diameter of your skillet. Like we just did the geometry unit with my 7th grader. I should know these words. Now, cornmeal is grittier, but we still want to mix this and make it as smooth as possible. You can see that is very smooth. We have some of the bubbles forming from the baking powder reacting in there, and that's going to give it that nice fluffiness. It's just a great consistency. And so now it is time to move over to the stovetop and get this going in the skillet. When doing a skillet cornbread, you want to make sure that the skillet is nice and hot before you add in the batter. So I'm going to start with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to heat that up. This is actually already kind of warm from sitting here with the oven on. The oven is preheated. We want hot skillet into preheated oven. We have our batter right here, and we're gonna get this hot. I do have a pinch mitt if I need it, Remember, be very careful with whole hot pans going in and out of the oven. So if you need to get your trivet or your oven mitt or pinch mitt, you can. This side especially will get hot. This handle will probably be okay. But I'm gonna just go ahead and coat the bottom of the skillet. The oil will thin out and just roll real easily around the bottom of the skillet. You want to make sure that the bottom is completely covered. 2 tablespoons should be about enough. So we're going to let that heat up, and then we could, there's 2 ways I'm going to show you. I'm going to talk you through one, and then I'm going to show you the other one. So if you're just doing cornbread without the corn kernels, you would just pour the batter that we just made right into this hot skillet, let it set for about 30 seconds, and then transfer it into your hot oven. So you want to make sure, again, hot skillet, add the batter into the hot oven. Okay, that's going to get that nice crust forming on your cornbread. It'll help get it going so that it rises properly. It's going to be just cooked to perfection. So I can see this is getting pretty warm. Cast iron takes an extra minute to warm up. Generally, you might start to see, especially if your cast iron is well seasoned and there's any bit of anything that may be left over from the last time you used it, you might start to see a bubble, but I think this is about ready to go. But pretend we're pouring that in. That's sweet cornbread. But I'm going to show you how to do the corn and then add the cornbread. You can mix corn or cream of corn or creamed corn. Creamed corn. It's not cream of corn, it's creamed corn. You can mix that in there if you want that little extra bit. I personally prefer to have the corn at the bottom of the cornbread. So the corn's on the bottom, the cornbread bakes on top of the corn, but we want to get this nice, one of my favorite color of that purple and the blueberry muffins, my favorite sound. My favorite smell is probably roasting garlic. You know, we all have our favorites in the kitchen. Okay, so the corn, I'm just gonna lightly toast and toss this. And then I have my batter right here. I'm gonna just spread it into a thin layer. We are just waiting for this to kind of brown up. I'm starting to see some evidence of that. Just gonna give it a little toss. It's starting to smell a little toastier. We're looking for a little brown. That'll just help increase the flavor on that bottom layer of what will be the most magical cornbread. Coming soon to a kitchen near you. The corn is toasting. It's a deeper maize yellow color than that brighter yellow color. It's toasting nicely. Little tiny sections have started to brown. I'm gonna go ahead and spread it into a completely, as a single layer as I can. This is gonna kind of be the bottom. Of course, the cornbread batter will fill in around it. It'll even make some of this corn float up into the batter, if you will. I just wanna get this into as thin a layer as possible. I am gonna turn the heat off, and then I'm gonna pour the batter right in. My favorite spinella. Scraping every bit of goodness out of this. Sweet batter. It's gonna push that corn up the edges, which is fine. I am gonna spread it a little bit and make sure that all of that corn that we just toasted is essentially under the batter. A little bit of that oil is gonna come over the top. That is a-okay. And make sure that this is in a even layer. It's like a little cake. We could do like a design in it. Not too hot. Already preheated, 375. We're gonna carefully transfer this. Try not to melt my mascara into the oven. And we're gonna set the timer to 30 minutes. And then we will check the middle. If a toothpick or a fork comes out clean in the middle, it'll be done. If not, you can add 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes until it is cooked all the way through in the middle. Our skillet cornbread is finished. Again, we use the cast iron because of the way that thick iron like conducts the heat and just really cooks this cornbread really nicely. It really does make for the perfect side dish. We did do our sweeter batter. And then just to show you, I would probably do the savory batter with the corn, but I did the sweeter batter on top, kind of because it's my favorite, but you know. And I'm just gonna kind of cut this like pie style, and we're gonna get just like the right side dish. I could probably get 10 pieces out of this. I'm trying to pull this up. Look at, oh my gosh, piping hot. Where's the butter? It ended up toasting, I think, after the batter got poured in. We have this gorgeous like caramelization happening. We don't want to leave any bits of this crust behind. Excuse me. This is the perfect side dish. Obviously for chili, but for other recipes and meals as well. A must make, with or without the corn kernels. It doesn't matter to me, you just need to make it. I hope showing the two kind of different ways to do a skillet cornbread was helpful. If you learned something new, I would love for you to like this video. Also, please subscribe to the channel. We release new episodes in the Learn to Cook on a Budget series at noon Central Time on Wednesdays. So when you subscribe, you'll get a notification letting you know there is a new episode to watch. And of course, you can go back and watch or binge any other episodes in the series.